Talks begin this weekend between the U.S. and Iran. This could be Iran's last chance to avoid a military strike on its nuclear program.
Leaders in Israel are concerned that Iran might drag out the talks and keep their program going. Julie Stahl brings us the story from Jerusalem.
The U.S. Iran nuclear talks begin this weekend as a new report warns Iran's nuclear threat has worsened significantly. The Institute for Science and International Security warns that Iran has improved its nuclear weapons capabilities, that it takes less time to build those weapons, and that the idea of building them has gained more acceptance in Iran. The report also says the nuclear threat from Iran has increased significantly since February of last year. President Trump already warned Iran it has about 2 months to come to a deal or face military strikes.
We have a little time, but we don't have much time because we're not going to let them have a nuclear weapon. Can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
Warning that Israeli security is on the line, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren, writes the Americans could agree to a deal that lets the Iranians once again keep their nuclear facilities and centrifuges intact. Another Israeli concern is the Iranians will stall for time to finish developing such weapons and get ready to repel any attack to destroy their nuclear facilities. Iran denies it's building nuclear weapons.
We will provide whatever guarantee necessary to prove we are not seeking a nuclear bomb.
Trump has moved a massive amount of American military power into the Middle East that could strike Iran's nuclear facilities. The Iranians are trying to neutralize that threat, warning Tehran might stop cooperating with the International Atomic Energy Agency and expel its inspectors if military threats against Iran continue. Here in Israel, a new report says the Palestinian Authority is still paying allowances to terrorists who've killed Israelis. The PA insists it stopped the infamous pay-to-slay program, but the watchdog group Palestinian Media Watch points out one PA employee's publication admitted some money being paid out is specifically for martyrs, prisoners, and the wounded. Meanwhile, both Trump and Israeli sources tell the Jerusalem Post it appears a new deal is close to getting the remaining hostages who are alive freed.
Want to get those 24 out really fast, and we're working on it very hard.
This comes after freed hostages traveled to Washington.
We are here because of President Trump. Thank you.
Israeli government spokesman David Mencer points out Jews in Israel and around the world are preparing for Passover, also known as the Festival of Freedom. That's when Moses cried out to Pharaoh, "Let my people go."
That cry is not just an ancient piece of history, it's our urgent living plea for the 59 hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief is with us, Chris Mitchell, joining us now live from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what are the concerns in Israel about a possible deal with Iran?
Well, Gordon, I think the main concern is that Iran will simply delay the talks. On the other hand, while pursuing a nuclear weapon, the Iranians are masters at negotiations and at delaying. So Israelis here wonder how long are the negotiations going to continue? What are the goals? What happens if the talks fail? On the other hand, it seems to be likely the U.S. and Israel, especially after that meeting the other day with Trump and Netanyahu, they have a plan and a timetable. President Trump, as you heard in Julie's report, he makes it very clear. If Iran doesn't agree to a deal, the military option is on the table. And some are wondering why the talks. Some believe Trump wants to give Iran one last chance to stop its nuclear program before a military option. And some here in Israel believe this may be the best opportunity, the best window to destroy Iran's nuclear sites. They have U.S. diplomatic support, U.S. military support. Just a few months ago, Israel had none of that, and now the circumstances have really changed dramatically, Gordon.
Well, you reported yesterday that a leading Muslim scholar had issued a fatwa calling on all Muslims, I'll underline that, to wage jihad against Israel to end the war in Gaza. Is this part of the Muslim Brotherhood? What's the source of this fatwa?
Well, it's a Dr. Ali Karadagi. He called for the fatwa. 14 other scholars signed the fatwa. They called for a global mobilization. politically, economically, and even military to isolate Israel. They accuse Israel of a genocide in Gaza. But Egypt's Grand Mufti, he condemns this fatwa. He calls it irresponsible. It could inspire individual acts of terror. On the other hand, Gordon, I would say here in Israel, they're reminded of the line from the Passover Seder that they're going to be celebrating tomorrow night. In every generation, they rise up again to destroy us. But the Holy One, blessed be he saves us from their hands.
What can you tell us about this new report that the Palestinian Authority is still having its pay-to-slay program?
Well, pay-to-slay continues, Gordon. I talked to Itamar Marcus of the Palestinian Media Watch earlier today. He's the one that monitors this for many years. He says they're still paying, quote, martyrs, prisoners, and the wounded. And the PA is just finding a way to hide the payments to terrorists and their families without being detected. They used to do it by direct deposit. Now they're doing it through the post office. And it really just seems to be endorsing President Mahmoud Abbas's pledge. He said if the PA would be left with 1 penny, it would be paid to the families of the martyrs and their prisoners. And he seems to be holding up to that pledge and just trying to hide what they're doing to pay the terrorists and their families.
Well, shouldn't we just hold them to that and shut off all funds until that stops and say, okay, if you want to get down to your last penny, be our guest?
Well, we know right now that the Trump administration has frozen security services funding to the PA. That's about $600 million. And they've also frozen U.S. AID funds, where some of that was used to pay the terrorists as well. So the Trump administration seems to be trying to turn off the spigot to the PA.
All right. Well, Chris, thanks for the report from Jerusalem. You're the watchman on the wall.
Thanks, Gordon.
Are miracles real? Let's investigate.
A lot of skeptics will say, well, miracles are impossible. Why? Because they violate the laws of nature. You can't violate the laws of nature.
I looked at my hand that was clutched. I said, hand move.
We got to 2125.
Hallelujah! He's dead. It's over. I said, shock him one more time.